Good morning, everybody. This is Nell with Stamp with Nell. You can find my blog at stampwithnell1l.com. Happy Thursday morning. It's 6 o'clock in the morning. So if you're here with me, you're one of the early risers. I appreciate this. This may or may not be streaming to Facebook. David is out of town, and this is my first time trying to do this myself. Where I think it might be working. So I'm just going to continue, and if it's not uploaded to Facebook, you'll find it on YouTube later this morning. Well, you'll find it on YouTube no matter what. So this morning we are going to make this card. It's pretty simple. It's made by mostly stamping. There's a few die cuts, as you can see, but for the most part, it's mostly stamping. So let's get started. We're going to use the Merry and Bright. Let's try to do this without that light there. There we go. Merry and Bright bundle. So that would be the stamps and dies from the Merry and Bright collection. And we're also going to use some of the paper. I'm sorry for the ums. I'm really working on that. It's hard, though. You don't even realize how many times you say Merry Bold and Bright paper. If you haven't seen this, it's really beautiful. And it is, in fact, Merry and Bright. You can use it for so many things. It's got, there's just birthday cards would be fabulous out of this paper. We're also going to use sorry for the glare here. The gold, well, not the gold, we're going to actually use the silver adhesive backed paper. If you watched one of my videos earlier this week, I said I should have used the adhesive backed paper too when I die cut some really little pieces. So today we're going to use the one that already comes backed, and that is very helpful. And then we're going to use a new online exclusive. This is the 3-color glimmer paper. It comes in Highland Heather, Petal Pink, and Pretty Peacock. We're going to use the Pretty Peacock. That is not adhesive backed, but we're going to use a large piece so we don't need it to be adhesive backed. All right. And then finally, the nested essential dies, we're going to use the largest two, this one and this one, out of those dies. So, and those are for the sentiment right here. All right, so let's get at it. We are going to put all this off to the side. We are going to take a piece of basic white, and first we're going to use a ruler to mark the center of the paper. Now this is the long side. It's 11 inches long, so our center is going to be 5.5. And then on the short side, our center is going to be 4.25. And I'm not going to mark both sides. I'm just going to mark one because it's not, it is important to get it the same, but since I'm using the T-square ruler, it helps me to keep my ruler straight all the way down. All right. So now I just mark that lightly with pencil. Whatever doesn't get covered with ink, we will erase later. We're going to start with the string of lights from the Merry and Bright stamps and ink it up in Memento Black, Tuxedo Black, Memento ink. And then we're going to stamp using going in whichever direction you choose to start, right along this line. And then we'll turn the paper and go that way. So I'm going to start here, and the idea is to get the wire stamp on both sides of my penciled mark. And we're going to stamp again. I hope you have caffeinated yourself this morning. I have not only caffeinated, I make my own creamer, and so I made some creamer this morning, pumpkin spice, even though it's available in the stores now. So if you'll see, I got this almost exactly where I wanted it. I'm just off by a smidge. I'm just trying to make that line go totally across. And if it doesn't, that's okay, because it's in the center, and I'm not going to be Horribly worried about it. But I made some pumpkin spice creamer this morning, so that is cooling on the stove. I'm actually I prefer, excuse me, iced coffee to for my morning beverage, and so I don't mind that my creamer, of course, is cold. I know that's kind of a problem when I was drinking regular hot coffee, was that my creamer was cold. I don't know how you get past that. It cools down your coffee. Although sometimes it was a little too hot. It could use a little cooling down. All right. So again, I'm putting this across this line, and I'm getting as close to that one as I can. It's hard to see with the reflection. It might be hard for you to see too. But just along the line. There we go. Ooh, look at that. That is by far the best one I've ever done. So, all right, we are done with this stamp. I prefer to work in this orientation, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the small, I'm calling this a light socket. I don't know what else to call it, so that's what we're going to call it. I'm going to stamp this, and this time I should have put my pad underneath, but I didn't. So I'm going to do that this time. Now I'm going to stamp this in Cajun Craze full strength. And basically I'm going to put the little hook area over the black. And I'm going to stamp 3 times. Twice on the center line. Oops. Well, okay. This is photopolymer, so I should be able to, maybe I didn't actually get that corner in the ink. I should be able to get right back there. That's better than nothing. Good thing about photopolymers, you can see right through it. So if you can put your head over it, you should be able to get it right back on the same place. So you can, of course, now I'm going to turn it. Let's see. I think I'm going to go with this one down here. I like making sure I get it on all of these loops, but there's only 1 or 2 loops in each quadrant. I think it's 2 loops in each quadrant, depending on how you stamped. All right. And I'll do this one over here. So I cannot see any comments since I don't know if I'm actually live. So I apologize for that. I really am so impressed with people who just can see everything. I know that comes with experience, and I don't have that much experience doing the lives. So I'm going to give myself some grace and not worry too much about it. But I just want to tell you all that I am thankful that you're here. If you're a replay viewer, I am thankful that you watch on either Facebook or YouTube. I do this for you so that you can see the things that you can do with the Stampin' Up! Products. I also do it for fun, and it is fun to me to record the videos. It's fun for me to make the cards. It's fun for me to do some designing on my own. I never really thought I could design my own cards, and of course, I get sparked. My creativity gets sparked by other people, and this one comes from Robin Armbrecht. I've seen her do this kind of stamping before, and she just makes it look so easy and so pretty, and it is easy. Oops, I forgot to pull out a stamp. So we're going to use now the bulb stamp. I'm going to use the big one. I don't know if you can see it. Well, you'll see it better when I have it inked. So I'm going to use the large round bulb stamp, not the straight one, but you could use the straight one as well. And I'm going to start with Balmy Blue and this upper quadrant. So I did stamp off because stamp off once, there we go, and then I put Balmy Blue in each quadrant. Not necessarily in the same place, but the truth of the matter is the paper, whew, that's interesting. Okay, let me get a piece of paper. That's the first time that's happened to me. My grid lines appeared on the appeared in my design. It happened to me actually. I was coloring an envelope for the card that I'm going to do for the blog hop this week, and it was showing, it was coming up with a design, and I thought, well, that's really interesting. I didn't realize that this stamp had a design, and then I realized the envelope I was using is what was causing the design. And when the blends dried, it went away. So while I have the Balmy Blue ink out, I usually do this backwards, but today I'm gonna do it the right way. I'm going to stamp in full strength Balmy Blue, the filament, in each one of these quadrants. Or I'm sorry, each one of these Balmy Blue bulbs. Oh, it happened more than once. Huh, okay then. All right, okay, that's that one. Now I'm going to clean my stamps, both of them, because we're going to use them both again. And we're going to do Lost Lagoon. And if you know anything about the way that I present my written tutorials, they typically are presented with my colors in alphabetical order. Don't know why I do that, but then when I go to use them, I use them in alphabetical order. So, all right. I'm sorry for the dead air. I get to thinking about what I'm doing, and okay. And it doesn't matter where you choose to put these. You could also add a few more if you feel like there's some blank space. Like right here, I probably will go back and add another one because I don't want that open white space. Maybe even right here. So the reason that I chose the colors that I did today is for a color challenge. And off the top of my head, I cannot remember which one it was, but it will be in my blog. My blog post for this card will be live tomorrow, so you don't have to write down any measurements when we get to that point, because there is always a written tutorial for every card that I present to you online. Pardon me. All right, now we're going on to the Pretty Peacock. But the color challenge was actually, they were calling it, I think Autumn's Riches was the title of the colors that they used. But when I saw it, of course, in this time when we're kind of, at least as a card maker, I feel I am in a scramble to get my Christmas cards done because they are not done. I saw Christmas. So that is why I ended up doing these, the card in this manner. So there's that. Oh, okay. So you can see that this is going to be a little tight, but I am not going to worry about it at all. If they cross over, they cross over. Frankly, that happens in real life. So I'm just going to love it and go for it. I'm going to accept the design challenge and go for it. And here comes the filament. I had to look up the parts of a light bulb so I could make sure that I was calling them pretty much what they're called. It's funny, you know things, and then when you go to look them up, you think, oh yeah, that's right, I remember that's what that's called. All right, so I'm looking at this, and I'm thinking definitely one here and probably one here. So I will just get my Cajun Craze back out. And stamp the socket again right here. And I am going to do it at a little jaunty angle so it's they don't, oops, Lord. Some days I wonder what I'm thinking. A little jaunty angle, so there we go. It isn't right in your face. And then Use the balmy blue. I don't know if I cleaned it. I did not. So I just put whatever, lost a pretty peacock in my balmy blue. I'm not going to worry about it. Not right now. I think the color will, I don't think that's going to be a big deal. Okay, but there is a way to clean your pads. Um, I've never had to do it, but I know that you can. You kind of blot it off and then re-ink it if you put the wrong color in your ink. Thankfully, I've never done that with a very dark onto light ink. Although I think it might have been Robin Armbrecht when I was watching her, but it could have been someone else. Was talking about, that yellow, the new lemon lolly. You're going to put a dark, dark ink there. All right, so I think I decided I wanted another one here. That's also going to be balmy blue. So let me open that back up again. And I just don't want a bunch of white space. I want to make sure that my centers are fairly well represented with color. We don't want too much white, although we're going to add more. So, all right, that's that. And I believe this will be the last bulb stamp, so I'm going to put that away. All right, we'll put these off to the side and close up the balmy blue. And we're going to still leave the Cajun Craze open because we are going to stamp Santa Was Here. Now you're not going to believe this because, but oh no, I'm not. I was going to say, oh yes, I am. I am out of, acrylic blocks to put these on. I have them all lined up over here, and I guess I didn't. All right, so this is Santa Was Here. My stamp is a little red. It just happens when you use them. Just seems like it's always red. It's never, if there must be something in all the dye bases. Although I did use this a lot in Cajun Craze. So now I'm just going to stamp Santa Was Here in a variety of places. I'm not going to worry about the edge of that. And I want to cross over the center line, but then in some places I want it to be a full sentiment. Now, when you're looking at this card and when we're going to trim, we're going to trim the edges. So this edge and this edge. The center is going to be left alone in terms of trimming. So I would just keep that in mind as you stamp. Okay. So then here's another, we want it to be, you want it to be able to be read, not be too many times, have it just be partial words, but you also want to fill in the spaces and not leave too much white space. So I also try not to turn it the same way too often, although I just did there. All right, so now we're going to look at it from this side, see where we need Santa. Right here. We're going to put Santa right here. And here, let's do it this way. I just said I don't want it too many times the other way. Whoops. Okay. So that's one place where I'm a little, there we go. All right, and this edge I'm going to end up stamping off, and I don't want to stamp on my pad, so I'll just move I'll move my paper here. I like stamping on the edge. I feel like it carries my card all the way out. I think we missed something here. I'm going to go ahead and put it here. Okay. I feel like it brings the eye all the way out instead of being centered in one place. Put this here. The only thing I didn't do with my Santa was make him upside down necessarily. Or not him, make the sentiment upside down. I wanted it to be fairly legible, although I think this one I just did exactly that. I'm not going to put another Santa here because it's already kind of busy. So I believe I'm done with Santa. Let me get my chamois out to clean it. The other day I said I was using a different chamois because this one is really, but it's clean when I run it in the water. It's clean, but boy, it does not look nice. So, all right, we are done with the Santa stamp and this Cajun craze. Now we're going to use Pretty Peacock, and we're going to bring in this little, it's a little, there, that's better, I think. You'll be able to see it when I ink it. Let's do that. There we go, this little star. And he's not too directional, but you can certainly turn him. Oh, Lord. I get sloppy there. Oh, twice. Is it early morning stamping? No, because I do this this is my time. This is my creative time. It's kind of why I thought I would do this at this time of day. I do have a Tuesday at 6 p.m., but this Thursday at 6 a.m. and again on Saturday morning at 6 a.m. I thought I would give it a try. We'll see how it works. If it, it's always a work in progress, and so if it doesn't work, we'll just do it a different time. All right, so the idea, I know it looks a little busy and there's a lot here, but we're going to go with it. The one thing I didn't do on my sample and I wanted to do today was to add some of these little like light embellishments. So here is Balmy Blue, and initially I did it at the bottom of the light and I didn't like it there, and I decided that and this I could actually stamp off more than once. I just want it, I just want a little bit of something on the side here. And I'm okay with however it turns out. It doesn't have to be for every light. But it's just another little element that brings just another element into your card. So we're going to do that. We'll try that. We'll see how we like it. And there's one more. Ooh, had a lot of Balmy Blue. All right. So should we do it with the other two? I think so. If we do it with one, we should do at least a few of the other lights with their color. Whoops. Okay. So this is my portable chamois. It's just something I got on Amazon. All right, here's that. And then this goes over here. Oops, I'm off the pad there. I definitely like it in the darker color. Go this way with this one. Trying to keep it in its own section. Oops. So I am attending I think it's on stage on Saturday. And that is a Stampin' Up! Event for demonstrators. This will be my first one. I'm very, very excited to get to attend. This one is virtual. There is one coming up in Houston in March that David and I just booked a hotel room for. So the plan is to attend that one as well, and that one will be in person. And I'm just really excited. I get, just like you, I'm excited to see the new items. I'm excited to get to talk about stamping with people who love to do what I do. And so that is how I will be spending my Saturday, is online, hearing what Stampin' Up's got what Stampin' Up has got coming for us down the pike. There's also supposed to be a very exciting announcement on the 10th, which is tomorrow. And I don't know what time that's coming, but as soon as I hear it, I will, if I can, I will share it. And of course, you'll, I don't even know what it is. I was at a team meeting last night, and there was a discussion about how even the leaders didn't have any inkling of what was coming. Okay, so now we're done stamping. This is our background. We're done stamping the background. So we're going to cut this down to the 4¼ by 5½ pieces. And then we'll trim it using, I'm going to erase the lines first. Even though I use a clean eraser, I'm always worried about the erasing part. And you want to let your ink dry a little bit. You don't want to erase just, as soon as you've finished stamping something, because who knows. The ink dries very, very quickly, but I'm always afraid of smudging. So, all right, there go the lines. Because I don't need them to, okay, I don't need them to cut because the trimmer has lines on it. So we're going to go to 5½ on the long side here. And if you were watching the other day, if you watched my Facebook or my YouTube video, I was complaining about my, and then 4¼ on the short side, I was complaining about my trimmer blade being so dull. It was kind of tearing my paper edges. So I replaced my trimmer blade this yesterday, and I was, you know how you do, I tested it with my thumb to make sure it was sharp. Oh, I got ink on that. Because I have ink in my hands. I tested it with my thumb to make sure it was sharp, and and I cut myself right in the thumb. Oh, I have ink all over my hands. This is dangerous. All right, I'm going to trim this now so this is what the piece is going to end up looking like. They're all four just a little bit different. This probably could have used a bulb, but it's okay. We'll be working at that. And so these are the 4 panels, and you can use the 4 panels to make 4 cards. You could use them to cut them up even further and use them as strips, like maybe cut this and use it as a strip. But you have these 4 stamped backgrounds now. So I'm going to trim this. This is the one that I cut I stamped kind of poorly on the edge there. I'm going to trim this. I like it at 4½. Whoops, not that way. I like it with a small, a very thin border. And but because we already have we have another border coming, so I'm going to trim this one at 5¼ this the long side, and then I'm going to trim the not that way the short side at 4. Okay, and that just gives me the panel size that I need. Now if you choose not to layer it, again, you could cut it just slightly larger, which is why I use a full sheet of paper instead of going with the 4 by 10, which would give, or 4 by 10½, which would give you a 5¼ by 4 piece when you cut it. So you can see that I have a background here, and this is that pretty pink pretty peacock glimmer paper, and it's going to be a very, very short edge, but I cut a pretty big piece of paper, and I do not want to waste that paper, so I cut out the center. I use a deckled rectangle. You could use anything at all to cut this out and save it for something else, because I don't want to waste it. The other thing you could do is, if you choose to use Pretty Peacock or even Lost Lagoon, for this color bulb, you could use your filament and this edge out of the center cuts so that you're not wasting it. Okay, so before I do this though, we are going to use the Merry Melody embossing folder, and we're going to emboss this card. So I'm going to line this up right at the line, and then I'm going to close it up, and I'll be right back as I get this embossed. My embossing sandwich is so I'm using the plate number 1. I don't know if you can see that, and this slipped when I was moving my things. Plate number 1 and plate number 4, because this is a 3D embossing folder. It says 4 here and 1 up here, and it gives you the instructions. Right here is what we're working on. So I'm just going to place this with the hinge going towards the machine. That's the hinge goes into the area where you're going to feed it, And it's very simple to use. And so I'm sorry, it's shaking the table. This is one of the reasons I don't like to emboss on camera. But it's good to see the machine used. And so here we go. It's a variety of music notes. Although if you are a music person, you'll notice that the music notes aren't exactly the way you're used to seeing them. Not all of them, at least. Most of them. Okay. I just found something on the floor that shouldn't be there, so I'll pick this up. I don't know where that came from. Okay, so now I am going to use liquid glue. Now that we've embossed, I'm going to use liquid glue because that's my preferred method. Plus, this is a little on the tight side, and I don't feel like I could get seal on there well enough, easily enough. All right, so that's that. And then I'm just watching the edges, and you'll see that I don't need that whole centerpiece. I saved all of this by cutting that out. All right, so then we're going to take the baker's twine, and I'm using the black one because I felt like it, since I have black, I think this would be beautiful in Versamark. And I might try that, but I don't know that I would do a whole page. But the wires in stamped in Versamark and then made silver with embossing powder. So I have an extra piece on here that is too short. So I say that this is going to be probably 24-ish inches long. But to save yourself some twine, here's what I would do. I'm going to watch this because it's okay. So the idea is that I'm going to wrap this around 3 times, similar to the wire. My sentiment is going to go in this area because this is where the white part is. Okay, so that's where I know I'm going to put my sentiment. So I'm going to leave this edge here. I'm going to wrap. Well, sure I am. I'm going to leave this edge here, and I'm going to wrap this 2, and then come back a 3rd time, and then I'm going to tie a knot. And the knot is going to be hidden. You don't need long tails. We're not making a bow because I'm not a huge bow person. I love the ribbon on my cards, but I don't necessarily like the knots in the bows. And I probably, I wouldn't pull this quite, I'd pull this a little tight. There we go. I don't want it to pull up on the edges. So sometimes, okay, I'm going to pull out the Merry trick, and we're going to hold this down with reverse tweezers because I'm struggling to tie the knot even. I have had some coffee. We were talking about that earlier. I just started a cup, but I didn't finish it, so maybe that's my problem this morning. Okay then. What is going on here? Oops. Well, all right. We can't tie a knot at 6 o'clock in the morning. It's all right. It's fine. There we go. All is well now. Thank you. All is well in the world of now. Okay. And then I'm going to trim these off. And again, the knot isn't going to show. I don't need any extra here to tie a bow or anything. So I'm just going to trim them off pretty close. All right. So that's that. I have already cut the pieces for the sentiment. So here is the Lost Lagoon and Basic White. I cut those with the Nested Essential Dies. And again, I cut them with the 2 largest. So this is the Lost Lagoon, and then the next one in is the white. We're going to start with the white, and I'm going to bring my pad back with my... and you'll see that this is the sentiment right here, Holly Jolly. This is how it comes. It is but it is a photopolymer stamp, which means it will bend. And that was definitely how I decided to use this. Now I do use my grid paper for this to help me get it in the center. And then I want to make sure that I come down the same number of lines on both sides. And then so that that I know that it's a good wrap. So let's do that again, shall we? It's right here. And the idea is just to make it a little bit different than, okay, it's getting kind of fiddly here. We're done fiddling. Okay, there it is. So there. So I just really kind of liked it curved, even though my sentiment is not, my sentiment piece is not a curved piece, but I just wanted to curve it. So, and now we're bringing out the Cajun Craze again. So are you a traditional color person or a non-traditional color person for Christmas? I would have said prior to the choosing this to make this card that I am a traditional color person. I'm a red and green, and I have a red and green card coming up on Tuesday that'll be released then. So but this particular card has made me rethink that just a little bit. Okay. So then I'm going to stamp the Christmas, this Christmas stamp. It's a block Christmas. That would be this one. Looks like this. I'm going to stamp that in Pretty Peacock. And remember that if your stamp doesn't get on quite straight or there's something you don't like about it, there are two sides to the paper. And even though this one has a stitched area on the edges, you can still just turn it over and use the other side. So there is the Christmas. And it looks like I used balmy blue in the center there, I thought, for that one. So we're going to do the star. If I can put my fingers on it, here it is. I'm going to clean this off because I'm not positive it got cleaned. Ooh, it went flying everywhere. Things are flying. All right. Okay. And we're going to put it right here in the center just for some fun little fun. Okay. I believe we are done with ink, but we'll see. We'll see. Okay. So that is done. And now we're going to assemble this part. And basically what I did was this one, you could go either way. This one is the same orientation. And so I put this in the corner and lined it up with the stitching. That's upside down. Lined it up with the stitching. There's also a very slight edge here on the Lost Lagoon from the Nested Essentials die. And so you can line that up. So that's how it's going to be. I am going to adhere it with liquid glue because I am team liquid glue. Please use your adhesive of choice. And there we go with that. All right, and liquid glue, I like it because it gives me a little bit of wiggle room. So when I don't get it exactly where I want it in the first place, then I can move it. And there's that. Now, we're back to this piece of, this is the piece that I cut that was too long. And I'm just going to cut a bit of this. There's no actual measurement for this because it's just a scrap. But it needs to be long enough, excuse me, to pull back behind here. And I'm just going to tack it down right here. I got that a little tight, but it'll be fine when it's down. And I'm going to tack it down so it looks like it has its own wire. But before we do that, I'm going to pull out the balmy blue bulb that I cut. And then this is the Cajun Craze bottom socket, which is plain. And then I stamped the silver, not stamped, I die cut the silver adhesive backed paper. So we're going to use that now. And I keep saying I have no nails. I see I do. It's probably about time to cut them. Sure. Okay. We'll get out the take your pick tool, which is my friend for everything. And I just need to get under the edge here. And sometimes I find there we go, that the paper will come off first thing. So just after I die cut it. And that works for me because usually I'm using it up right away. Today I'll show you what I did with it when that happened and I didn't want to use it right away. All right, so I'm just lining this up so it's nice and pretty. And that's going to go there in a minute. We're not quite ready for it. So here I have a piece of you can't see it, I'm sure, but it is just a piece of plastic that came off of a Paper Pumpkin um, stamp kit. And so the adhesive came off the back when I took it off my machine, but that's okay. I just put it on that, or I could have put it on my silicone mat. Um, and that keeps it clean so that it'll continue to stick, but um, it allows it to wait until I'm ready to use it. So now a little bit of glue here. Do, 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 do. Uh-oh, now I want McDonald's. Uh-oh. Okay. And then I'm just going to adhere that there. Now I'm going to slide this in here either way. I think for camera purposes, it might be easier to put it through this way with the loop end first. Alrighty. This would be pretty with silver string too. Okay. So now I have this on there, and again, the length is not as important as what you do with it. So I may even trim it if I decide that it's gone too far or that it's too much. So I am looking for, here it is, my mini glue dots, and I'm going to put a mini glue dot on the page just right here. The only thing that matters about where you put the liquid or the mini glue dot is that it will be hidden by your sentiment. I'll get my phone out of the way. Didn't realize I put that there. All right, I got some garbage to clean up here. All right, so I know that I want to put this here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that before I adhere it to with dimensionals. I'm going to do that before I adhere the string to the card front. All right. And there's that, taking off those backs. That was satisfying. And I just want to make sure I don't cover my sentiment. There we go. And now I'm going to take the ends of this and I'm going to adhere it on this liquid glue, or I'm sorry, this mini glue dot, just so that it's there. And then I just pushed the loop this way and I made a loop, and that's pretty much what it's going to look like. Okay, we're going to pull this up a little bit. It's actually a little bit shorter than I wanted. Okay, I just want to make sure that this doesn't end up showing on the edge. I'm going to trim this little longer edge. All right, so that's how I want it. I want it to loop around. Now I'm going to do a little bit of acrobatics here, and we're going to put some dimensionals on the back. Those are the minis. We don't need those today. Okay. So add a few dimensionals because nothing's better than a popped up sentiment, except maybe a popped up whole card. I don't know. I don't know if I could do a whole card that's popped up. What about you? Well, maybe I do that anyway and I just don't realize it. Okay. Oops. Hello. Hello. Come on. No one's cooperating today. There we go. All right. And then I'll take my backs off. And then I'm just going to check my loop again, make sure it's the way I want it, and not drop the sentiment. There we go. Okay. That's a beauty. And we will be popping up the back of this card, so let me get my dimensionals back out. Let's cut some more half dimensionals here. I realize I just cutting these the opposite direction the way I usually cut them, so forgive me if it's seeming a little awkward, because it is feeling a little awkward. And I'm going to put dimensionals on the back of the front layer, and this front layer is going to go on a Lost Lagoon card base that I already have cut and scored. Now I'm using it in the 5.5 by 8.5 direction. You could certainly use it at the 4.5 by 11 or 4.25 by 11. Oops, got a full one there. Oh my goodness. I am going to put some full ones in the center just because I have them cut and I don't want you to have to watch me cut dimensionals again. All right. Well, that doesn't go there. I always wonder why when I take the dimensionals, if it comes off, why it seems so sticky when I put it back, or why it doesn't stick quite right when I put it back on. One would think that it would not stick to the dimensional the way it does, but often I get them sticking to the dimensional. Maybe it's the other side. Maybe that's the problem. The other side gets to stick. Excuse me. I think the dogs deserve. Oh no, they're right here. I wish you could see them. They are chilling out. They're thinking, you know, she's doing her thing, and it is what it is. She's not paying any attention to us right now, that's for sure. All right. So here is my card base. We're going to put it sticky dimensionals. We're going to put the card front on, just pop it right up. And this is I prefer a very narrow border. In fact, it's narrower than even I'm planning on here. Okay. So I try to get it lined up in the corners and the side before I gently lay it down and press it down. Okay, so the card outside is almost done. Now we're going to use the silver festive pearls, and we're just going to get this dimensional back off because, Lord, they get everywhere. There we go with that. And we're just going to put 3 on the card front. So there's 1, there's 2, and over here. When I do that on if there is kind of some open space in a embossing folder of some flat space, that tends to be where I will put them. I try not to put them on something bumpy. Just my habit, and you can certainly put them where you want, but I try to find a flat-ish space. Now some folders will not, there just isn't any space like that, but this one there happens to be, so I just went ahead and did it that way. So that is the front. Now we are going to do the interior, and the interior is again a little bit of stamping, and then some of the, I think it's some of the designer series paper, Merry Bold and Bright. So I just cut this strip. When I cut the strip for the envelope flap, this is just another 1/4 of an inch off that same piece of paper. So I'm going to adhere this with liquid glue with it's kind of a thinner line than I did there. This one side is a little generous. So one thing, you know, I'm all about being generous, but we don't necessarily need to be generous with our liquid glue because we don't want too much, because it smushes out everywhere and then it creates some problems. All right, so there's that. And now we're going to go back to stamping one more time, actually twice, because we're going to do the front as well. So I'm going to clean this off. I don't know if I cleaned it off before I left it there. So this time I stamped full strength in balmy blue. You could certainly do that. I'm going to go ahead and make that happen. If I can find my pad. I have several tables of things going here, and I feel like I'm spread out all over the place. All right, let's do this one first, so I know where to put it. All right, there's that, and then full strength balmy blue with a full strength light, I don't know what, light element we're going to call it, and a full strength filament. It's right here. All right, I'm not great at stamping when there's another stamp on top, but we're going to do it anyway. And then I did stamp a little string in the corner, if you might be able to see that. So I'm just gonna give myself a little black here and go in the corner. There we go. Okay, so that is the inside layer of the card. Close that up so I don't put my arm in it, since I've already gotten my fingers very inky. Now, because I'm going to write on this, I'm going to use Stampin' Seal to adhere it to the card front and not liquid glue, because I don't want any lumpy bumpies to write on. And again, this is a nice, this for me is what I prefer. It is a, whoops, not so fast, everybody, not so fast. It is a very narrow matting. So there we go with that. Okay, this is done. Now we're going to do the envelope. Dun, dun, dun. We still have some more stamping to do, but I have open ink pads, and that is always a disaster when I'm around. So take the Merry Bold paper. This is cut at 2 1/4 by 6. And okay. This is another place where I might use Stampin' Seal more often than liquid glue, but I haven't quite transitioned to that. But I do feel like maybe it gets up in the edges just a little more, a little better than. So you can see how merry and bright this is. And by the way, I'm out of Stampin' Up! Envelopes, so we're using generic. But my order is due any day now, and there is so much paper in it. But you can see how pretty and bold and non-Christmassy the backside of this paper is. It's really beautiful. It's just nice, bold colors. You could use it for Christmas or not Christmas. All right, I'm feeling a little bit of glue over here, so I'm going to just rub that with an embossing buddy to get that stick away. All right, and then finally, the envelope front. Now this one I'm going to be a little bit more intentional about what I do with the string. So I'm going to ink up the part that I want, which is the little loop, and stamp that across here. And then I'm going to use the balmy blue again. Oh, let's start with the Cajun Craze because we need a socket. And we're going to go this way. So it's interesting to me. I don't know if it's just because it's the way I stamped it or what, but when I stamped the other one and the one on the inside, and I put the wire on last, the black looks more bold to me. It looks like it's actually on top, but this one doesn't look as bold. And I don't know why. I think that's my mind. I'm pretty sure that's my mind playing tricks on me, but I'm just, that's the way my mind sees it. So, all right. And then this one I am going to stamp off. I'm going to get my mat back again. And I'm going to bring in a fresh, clean piece of paper because after a while, all that extra stuff bothers me. All right. And I'm going to stamp off once and then stamp a partial. It is going off the edge of the envelope. You'll see that when I lift it. So it's right here. And then my filament in full strength, balmy blue, also going off the edge. There we go. And then a excited light. I really need to know what to call this. Off the edge here. Okay. And ladies and gentlemen, and anyone who's watching, that is our card for today. So I appreciate your time at this early time of the morning. Let me show you our finished product here. Pretty sure it's, I'm not sure which one it is. So they look exactly the same, so I'm not sure which one it is. I think it's this one. So this is our finished project, and here is our envelope. So it is all ready, and again, this makes 4 cards. So because you cut 4 pieces, you could really get 4 cards out very quickly if you do. The cutting is repetitive, and when you look at the dies, there are 2 large bulbs. There's 1 filament, but there's 2 different filaments. So and there's 2 of the background um, sockets, and then 2 of the textured sockets. So you really can knock them out pretty quickly. I think you could do it pretty quickly. So thank you very much for joining me today. If you were here live, I appreciate you, and I'll go back and look at the comments. And if you're a replay viewer, I very much appreciate you. If you're on YouTube, I would appreciate it if you would subscribe and set that notification button to receive notifications when I go live. And the live for me in YouTube, there are some restrictions that YouTube places on creators, and I'm not eligible yet to go live, but I will upload this to YouTube, and when I am eligible to go live, then you would get notifications that I was doing that. So thank you very much for coming today and for making this Holly Jolly Christmas card with me out of the Merry and Bright, yes, Merry and Bright bundle with the Merry and Bold paper. Thanks so much. Have a great Thursday.